This is Nightline. I'm Jana Muhammad Zaki. The top stories. Enmity towards Muslims, Islam stems from creation of Israel, says Prime Minister. And former Sultan of Kelantan, Sultan Ismail Petra, passes away.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
The former Sultan of Kelantan, Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra Ibni Almarhum Sultan Yahya Petra, passed away on Saturday morning. He was 70. Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra breathed his last at 8:11 a.m. at the Royal Ward of the Raja Perempuan Zainab II Hospital in Kota Baru. His body was then brought to the Istana Balai Besar for his final rites. Waiting at the palace were the Raja Perempuan Kelantan, Tengku Anis Tengku Abdul Hamid, and Sultan of Kelantan, Sultan Muhammad Kalima. Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra was finally laid to rest after the Asar prayers at the Langar Royal Mausoleum near the grave of his late father, Almarhum Sultan Yahya Petra. The Kelantan government has announced 2 days of state holiday to mourn the passing of Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra. The mourning period will last for 40 days, where all forms of entertainment and sporting events have been ordered to be put on hold. The state flag and other flags will also be flown at half-mast for 40 days in the state. Born on Friday, November 11, 1949 at Istana Jahar in Kota Baru, Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra Ibni Almarhum Sultan Yahya Petra was the only son and the youngest offspring of the late Sultan Yahya Petra and the late Raja Perempuan Zainab II. He was bestowed the title Yang Teramat Mulia Tengku Mahkota Kelantan on November 11, 1967 at the age of 18. On March 30, 1980, he was crowned as the Sultan of Kelantan at Istana Balai Besar at the age of 31 to replace his father, Almarhum Sultan Yahya Petra Ibni Almarhum Sultan Ibrahim. Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra suffered a stroke since May 14, 2009. He received follow-up treatments at the University Science Malaysia Hospital in Kubang Kerian. The Kelantan government then appointed medical specialists to form a medical panel to check his level of health. However, when Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra continued to be ill, the panel decided that he was not capable of ruling the state, and it was decided that his only son be crowned the new Sultan. During his rule, Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra took a great deal of effort to be close to the people as their protector, which enabled the multi-racial populace in the state to stay united. Earlier, Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah arrived at Istana Kota Lama to pay his last respect to Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra. Al-Sultan Abdullah arrived at the palace at 3:20 p.m. accompanied by the Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Hajah Aziza Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria. The royal couple spent more than an hour at the palace. Also paying his last respect was the Sultan of Brunei, Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah. Earlier, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail and her husband, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, were also spotted arriving at the palace at 2:10 p.m. From New York, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad expressed his sadness over the passing of Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra. He said he remembered the latter as a very polite ruler.
Saya berasa sedih dengan kemangkatan beliau yang mulia dan saya ucap takziah kepada keluarganya.
The Nightline team would like to express our sadness and deepest condolences to the people of Kelantan over the passing of Almarhum Sultan Ismail Petra. Other local news now. The Home Ministry has dismissed claims that it granted citizenship to 200,000 foreigners in return for their support to the Pakatan Harapan government. The ministry, in a statement on Saturday, said from May 2018 to September 15th, the ministry, through the National Registration Department, received 19,788 citizenship applications from various races. Of the amount, only 4,422 were granted citizenship as they fulfilled all the requirements based on provisions under the Federal Constitution. It added that the citizenship was granted to applicants based on 5 provisions under the Federal Constitution. The Home Ministry also warned all Malaysians that it will not compromise with fake news and will not hesitate to take action against those who spread it. The statement was issued after a Twitter user with the name of Tengku Raja Alam Shah claimed that the government has granted citizenship to 200,000 foreigners. The Prime Minister on Saturday used the best platform to again express Malaysia's strong disapproval towards the blatant seizure of Palestine land and the occupation of Jerusalem by Israel. In delivering his statement at the general debate of the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said while Malaysia accepted the state of Israel as a fait accompli, it strongly condemned the Zionist regime's hostility towards the Muslims and Islam.
Because of the creation of Israel, there is now enmity towards the Muslims and Islam. Muslims are accused of terrorism, even if they did nothing. Muslim countries have been destabilized through the campaign for democracy and regime change. Muslims everywhere have been oppressed, expelled from their countries, and refuse asylum.
Dr. Mahathir said the creation of Israel by seizing Palestinian land had expelled as much as 90% of the latter's Arab population. This, he added, has led to wars being fought in many countries in the region and in turn gave birth to numerous terrorist movements globally. He also believed that military action against acts of terrorism will not succeed for as long as the world refuses to identify the cause and remove it. Turning his attention to Jammu and Kashmir, the Prime Minister said that now, despite a UN resolution, the country has been invaded and occupied. He stressed that the problem must be solved by peaceful means. In this regard, he called on India to work with Pakistan to resolve this issue, cautioning that ignoring the UN would lead to other forms of disregard for the UN and the rule of law. Dr. Mahathir also said the time has come for the UN veto power to be revised if it cannot be abolished completely. He said this is to ensure that the intergovernmental organization returns to its original purpose of ensuring world peace.
The veto power, they must know, was against all the principles of human rights which they themselves claim to be the champions. It killed the very purpose of the great organization that they had created. It ensured that all solution to all conflicts could be negated by any one of them. Broken up into ideological factions, they frustrated all attempts of solving problems.
He also suggested that the veto should only be valid if 2 veto powers, together with 3 non-veto members, agree to apply it to prevent abuses. Currently, there are 5 countries that wield the UN veto power, namely France, China, the United Kingdom, the United States and Russia. Touching on the European Union EU palm oil ban, Dr. Mahathir described it as a classic case of the denial of free trade. The Prime Minister reckoned that the move was made due to the EU's inability to sustain the competitiveness of its own edible oils.
Palm oil is still a big contributor to our economy. There is no evidence that it is poisonous. Millions have taken palm oil and have not fallen ill because of taking of palm oil. We appeal to the good sense of the rich not to impoverish us, not to deprive hundreds of thousands of our workers from earning a living.
According to Tun Dr. Mahathir, the EU had launched a campaign against palm oil by falsely labelling the industry as harmful to the environment and ecosystem. He said claims that the industry destroys the habitat of the long-nosed monkeys and reduces carbon dioxide absorption were baseless. And during his media conference at the end of his 5-day working visit to New York, Tun Dr. Mahathir again expressed his disappointment over UN's failure to address problems involving nations.
Ya, saya kesal kerana ternampak UN ni tak mampu nak menolong ataupun menyelesaikan masalah yang dihadapi oleh negara-negara kerana dianggap perkara-perkara yang berlaku itu adalah masalah dalaman. Demikian juga di waktu Pol Pot sedang membunuh sehingga 2 juta rakyat Cambodia, tidak ada tindakan diambil oleh sesiapa. Kali ini pun nampak begitu.
The government will focus on enhancing women's participation in the nation's workforce in the upcoming 2020 budget. According to Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng, it was the government's intention to see all Malaysians becoming productive workers. Lim said, based on the statistics of labour participation, there was a shortage of women in the nation's workforce.
Kerana kalau kita lihat dari segi itu penyertaan buruh, Malaysia adalah di kalangan lelaki adalah kira-kira hampir 80%, tapi kalangan wanita 56 saja. So mungkin itu yang pentinglah supaya kita boleh tingkatkan penyertaan wanita di dalam sektor pekerjaan macam saudari sendiri bekerja. Ini adalah sesuatu yang amat baik dan amat memberikan manfaat besar kepada negara. Kerana itu adalah sesuatu yang amat produktif.
Lim was speaking to the media after the launch of 3 new services at Mount Miriam Cancer Hospital in Tanjung Bunga, Pulau Pinang on Saturday. Besides strengthening the role of women, the Finance Ministry will also be focusing on creating more job opportunities, especially for youths and fresh graduates. At the same time, he also encouraged the private sector to play a greater role in the nation's economic development. Lim also added that if Malaysia wants to be a developed nation, it has to be led by the private sector as it is more productive and efficient. Almost every household in Peninsular Malaysia will soon be able to track their power usage and patterns through the Advanced Metering Infrastructure AMI, or simply known as the Smart Meter. This will be made possible with Tenaga Nasional Berhad's plans to install 9.1 million smart meters by 2026 to facilitate full AMI benefits for its customers as mandated by the Energy Commission. According to the Energy, Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change Ministry, or MESTEC, the installation of smart meters would also help boost the country's economy. Its Deputy Secretary General, Nur Afifah Abdul, said this is because it opens up investment opportunities for companies to participate in the initiative.
Penggunaan elektrik bagi pengguna-pengguna akan dikenakan tarif yang berbeza mengikut waktu penggunaan bermula pada suku kedua tahun 2021. Tertakluk kepada siapnya pemasangan meter pintar tadi dan kelengkapan-kelengkapan lain yang diperlukan oleh pihak PNP bagi memastikan pelaksanaannya. Inisiatif ini diperkenalkan bertujuan untuk memberi peluang kepada para pengguna menggunakan elektrik pada kadar tarif yang lebih rendah di luar waktu puncak berdasarkan tempoh masa penggunaan tenaga tersebut. Inisiatif ini yang dikenali sebagai Enhanced Time of Use atau ETOU seperti yang dinyatakan oleh Datuk Wira tadi. Ia juga memberi peluang kepada para pengguna untuk merancang penggunaan tenaga elektrik mereka dengan lebih baik, seterusnya dapat membantu pengguna mengurangkan bil elektrik mereka.
She said smart meters have been adopted in several developed countries, including the United States, United Kingdom, Singapore and Japan. Back home, almost 300,000 smart meters were successfully installed in Malacca during the first phase of the initiative in 2018. Phase 2 will see 1.2 million smart meters installed by 2020 in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya and Cyberjaya. On another matter, Lim said any decision on the Tanjung PI by-election, including its likely candidate, would be determined by the Pakatan Harapan PH Presidential Council. According to the DAP Secretary General, Lim, the matter should be discussed and decided beforehand by Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia Bersatu as the seat belongs to them. The Tanjung PI parliamentary seat fell vacant after its Member of Parliament, Datuk Dr. Mat Farid Mat Rafiq, who was also a Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, died on September 21st from heart complications. Meanwhile, in Kedah, Barisan Nasional BN Chairman Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said his party has not been pressed by any parties to field a Malay candidate in the upcoming Tanjung PI by-election in Johor. Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid said the matter will be discussed among BN component parties and PAS before a decision is made. Last Thursday, MCA Kapar Division Chief Datuk Song Ki Chai and his members reportedly threatened to leave party if UMNO fields a candidate in Tanjung PI. This was because the parliamentary seat was previously held by a representative from the MCA. The Federal Territories FT Ministry said it is open and has no objection to any quarter offering a higher price for the land in Kampung Baru, so long as the condition that the land belongs to the Malays is complied with. Its Minister Khalid Abdul Samad said he lauded the view of the Secretary General of the Malaysian Malay Chambers of Commerce MMCC, Amir Hamzah Karim, that the apt price for land in Kampung Baru was RM2,000 per square foot and not RM850 as offered by FT. Khalid said he would ensure FT and the Kampung Baru Development Corporation would give their full cooperation to enable MMCC to buy the land of the Kampung Baru residents at RM2,000 per square foot if MMCC agreed to buy the land at the price it offered. In Perak, 2 men died after the motorcycle they were riding was run over by a heavy vehicle believed to be a lorry on the Jalan Ipoh Lumut in Ipoh on Saturday. The victims were identified as 52-year-old Indonesian Margono and 31-year-old local man Said Hazwan Hafiz Said Muhammad Nazari. The victims' bodies were brought to the Raja Pamaisuri Bainun for post-mortem. Authorities are tracking the lorry involved in the accident.
Hundreds of drivers participate in Malaysia's largest e-racing competition, Nightline's esports segment, after this break. Now it's time for esports segment, bringing you the latest news on gaming and esports. 40 simulation races went head-to-head on the virtual racetrack during the final round of the largest esports racing event in Malaysia. The Toyota GR Velocity Esports Championship saw the winners taking home a combined prize pool of 70,000 ringgit. .700 racers participated in the qualifying round, where a time trial determined the top 40 participants for the final round. Racers got behind the wheel of the latest 2019 Toyota GR Supra, the flagship sports car developed not only for real motorsports but also for Gran Turismo esports. Finalists competed in a 10-lap race on 3 different tracks, including Kyoto Driving Park, Suzuka Circuit as well as Fuji Speedway.
So we came out with this idea that e-sport is something that we want to participate, and we wanted to be first in Malaysia, especially in e-racing. Compared to last year, we had nearly 400 people who have participated. This year we had more than 700. So year by year it's getting better and more people are participating.
As for the winner of the tournament, Muhammad Shahril Nandir was delighted with his victory, having lost in the qualifying round of the same competition last year. The professional esports racer clinched the 20,000 ringgit top prize after obtaining 51 points in the grand finals.
It was awesome. It was a really tough event actually. All the best in Malaysian are here in the event. So yeah, I think I'm just lucky to be here and be in the champion spot.
Muhammad Uzair Abdul Nasir and Muhammad Afif Suhaimi brought home 10,000 and 5,000 ringgit respectively after finishing in second and third. UMW Toyota Motors President K. Ravindran and its Deputy Chairman Akio Takayama presented the prizes to the winners. Esports racing events are among some of the high-performance activities organized by Toyota, with hopes to see 1,000 racers participating in next year's event.
Mike Pompeo subpoenaed by House committees for failure to produce Ukraine documents. Details after this breather. Welcome back. In the United States, 3 House committees have jointly issued a subpoena to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo over his failure to produce documents related to the impeachment inquiry against President Donald Trump. The chairman of the House Foreign Affairs, Intelligence and Oversight Committees set an October 4th deadline for Pompeo to produce the documents, including many that the lawmakers have been seeking for weeks. The chairman had previously sent 2 letters requesting the documents from Pompeo, and he complied with neither. The committees also informed the top U.S. diplomat in a separate letter that they had scheduled depositions for 5 State Department officials who have been mentioned in relation to the impeachment inquiry. Saudi Arabia said on Saturday it would issue fines for 19 offences related to public decency, such as immodest dress and public displays of affection, as the country begins to issue tourism visas for visitors from nearly 50 countries for the first time. According to its Interior Minister, Prince Abdulaziz bin Saud bin Naif, the regulations are meant to ensure that visitors and tourists in the kingdom are aware of the law relating to public behaviour so that they comply with it. The violation lists include littering, spitting, queue jumping, taking photographs and videos of people without permission, and playing music at prayer times. However, it remains unclear if unmarried foreign men and women would be permitted to share a hotel room. It is understood that the fines are ranged from 13 to 1,600 US dollars. Quarter-final action from the Malaysia Cup. Don't go away. Sports football, the Malaysia Cup. Johor Darul Takzim beat Terengganu 4-1 in the second leg of the quarter-final on Saturday night as they marched into the semi-finals with a 5-1 win on aggregate. The hosts made a bright start into the match as Gonzalo Cabrera made no mistake from the spot to open the scoring in the 16th minute. Safawi Rashid doubled the lead for the Southern Tigers with a well-struck free kick in the 22nd minute before he volleyed home his second goal of the night to make it 3-0 in the 36th minute. Cabrera once again hit the net 3 minutes later to give the hosts a 4-0 lead before Lee Tuck struck the consolation goal for the visitors just before the break for a 4-1 final scoreline. The Southern Tigers will next face Perak or Selangor in the semis for a place in the final. In Qatar, the 2019 World Athletics Championships finally kicked off on Friday with a dazzling opening ceremony in Doha in front of IAAF President Sebastian Coe, IOC President Thomas Bach and the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Visuals of the event wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Jana Muhammad Zaki. Thank you for tuning in and take care.